Hello, and welcome to our little chat about negotiation. So, carrying on from part one, how to navigate that interview question around your target salary, base salary, salary expectations. And now we're going to take it to the part where you've got the offer or multiple offers and it's time to negotiate. So, we know things have gotten more transparent in recent years, and so you may have a sense of the range you're working with. I like to believe there's a lot that we can negotiate. Negotiation is always on the table. And, sometimes there isn't room to negotiate, as in it's still worth asking. It's still worth attempting the negotiation. And I think with this more transparent move and an attempt to bring more equity into salaries and starting salaries and all of that, this trend has maybe shifted a bit. However, it still happens. It's still worth doing. So just kind of putting that out there now. I want to start us with a little bit of mindset first. Negotiation is expected. It is a very normal part of the process, just like networking and reaching out to people, right? So knowing as we go into negotiating, it is expected, it is normal, it is welcome. It's not personal. And I know that this one can feel challenging because most of us are working for money, right? And money is a big deal. It's very personal, right? It means a lot of things to our lives. So I want to honor that reality. And when it actually comes to this business deal that's being made and offering you a job, and then you going to trade your time and energy to produce something for this company, and they give you money in exchange, excuse my dog here, just knowing that it really is a business deal, right? So if we are able to, I think it's all included. So I'm not saying don't have emotion about it. Let's have the emotion, and let's just create space for that outside of the actual business conversation that will happen with the company, if possible, right? So that's the ideal. It doesn't have to be perfect, but holding the intention of this is both expected and it's not personal. It is not personal. Okay. So let me see. What do I want to make sure I want to mention? Oh, we don't want to leave value on the table. We don't want to leave money on the table. So that is why we want to negotiate, even if they come in, you've maybe given an expectation in that first conversation. And like I mentioned before, like sometimes we get a little flustered or nervous, or we do more research, or we learn more about a role or something throughout the process, and we realize maybe what we shared initially isn't relevant. Maybe we are looking for something more, right? There's still room to negotiate despite what maybe has happened in previous conversations. And oftentimes, bringing in that psychology, oftentimes there's intentional room left to bring in that negotiation, because again, it is a business deal. Both sides want to feel like they're getting something great from what is happening. And I know there's just so much more to say on this topic, and trying not to rattle on and on too much here in this video, but just knowing, there are organizations and coaches and all sorts of things that do support through this, which may be really valuable and supportive. And just know that, there are some resources out there if you do want additional support. Connect with the group. We may have folks in the group who love negotiation or are successful in negotiation, want to share and support. So don't be afraid to ask, and just build confidence together. Even if everyone's a little like, ooh, this is new for me, or I've done it a million times and it's still a little edgy, doing it in community is going to be super supportive. And I think generally speaking, even if you make the ask and it's a no, like that's okay. At least you made the ask. And I know I gave the example in the part one conversation about someone I know who had kind of lowballed themselves, and the offer came in so much higher than that first conversation that they'd had with the company. And she still negotiated, and she was just like, hey, you know, I know negotiation's a part of this process and I'm doing it. And they came up again. So I think, you know, obviously that's like a best case scenario. Just know there's room to play. Okay, so let's talk about the negotiation itself. Let's say offer comes in. Now, one of the biggest indicators of how badly a company wants you. Now, if you get an offer, the company wants you, right? So I don't want to put it in a way that makes it seem like if you get an offer, they want you. Okay. So like fact, period. We're letting that be the truth. And there's some indicators on maybe where they're I don't know, like thirst for you or something. So one of the indicators is how soon after your interview did you get the offer? That is a pretty big one. However, there are many reasons why an offer may not come immediately after an interview. Folks are interviewing, you know, all sorts of people. Who knows? So just an indicator. And that is a helpful thing because it gives us a sense of like, you know, leverage points. And again, we can always negotiate. So this is just maybe some additional knowledge that could support you while also knowing if you got an offer, they want you, and we can always negotiate. Okay. How we perform in the interview has a huge impact often on what level we might come in at, you know, if your organization has different levelings for roles. So there's a lot, not to add too much pressure to the interview process, but a lot of that offer really does come through how did you show up in the interview process? How did you perform in the interview process? So that can be a helpful indicator as well for negotiation, depending on what like leveling you come in at and how soon after the interview. Is there anything else I want to add specifically? I think generally speaking, again, the bottom line here, if you got an offer, great signal, great information, and that's all that really matters. So you get the offer. Let's say they deliver it to you on a phone call verbally, or it comes through email, whatever direction it comes in. We want to express gratitude and excitement, and we're not going to accept the offer right away. Not on the call, not in email. So, you know, you can say write down the terms of the offer or ask for it in writing, you know, have them email it to you. And we're going to figure out like how much time do we have to give an answer. And you can always attempt at least to negotiate that time. I think for most of us, not too many people are looking to drag that out. However, sometimes we've got multiple interview processes going. Maybe this offer is good, I would say yes, and I'm interviewing with my dream company and the interview's next week. So we would want some space, right, to be able to give an answer. So there are ways to play with that. I think a 5 to 20% negotiation is pretty normal. Now that is totally based on where the offer come in. Is it aligned with cost of living? Is it aligned with the research that you've done? And so maybe it'll be more. And even if they are on par, even if they met your expectations, you can still negotiate. So things we can negotiate: base salary, equity, or, you know, stock, RSUs, depending on what kind of company you get an offer from. That's can be typical in tech, especially of technical roles. Moving expenses, sign-on bonus. You can even potentially negotiate your performance review schedule, PTO. There are some things I think that are more common, like parental leave, that are, just coming. I think those ones can be a little bit trickier to negotiate. And of course, you've got unlimited vacation at some places. So this all obviously varies company by company. I think the larger companies, things are a little more set in stone, so to speak. But then they also have things to play with, like retention bonus, that can help, bump you quarter by quarter or, year over year. So just know there's a bunch of stuff on the table. And this is, we're just talking about negotiation at time of job offer. And then there's like, when performance reviews do happen, you can even negotiate around those, right? So negotiation is just an interesting thing. This skill, I think, can feel heavy in the context of this job process because we want the offer. We don't want to compromise anything. I think there can be a lot of fear and worry and concern. However, again, it's expected. It's not personal. And we're constantly negotiating life often, or there's opportunities all over the place. So just holding like the normalcy of all of this.